Why have Sabjiwallahs, the street corner vegetable vendors, survived for so long, whereas even big modern retailers have failed? It's very simple. The answer is just one word: focus. Focus. The normal vegetable vendor, if you really see, he has a shop and he only stocks vegetables and fruits. And that too, he is right next to your doorstep or the street. So he knows every single customer literally by face and by your choice. So every morning, typically they go to the nearest mandi, which is a large terminal market, and they pick up the products typically at 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock in the morning, bring it fresh, puts it into a store or a small vending cart and comes straight to your doorstep right before your cooking time. Whereas some of the modern retailers who also get it from the same terminal market, even though a lot of them claim that they get it from the farmers, but practically a lot of challenges are there. So that way they do not have any bigger advantage than the local Sabjiwala in terms of the pricing. What they do typically is to discount that particular thing, give offers and freebies, because the modern retailers do not see the focus in vegetables and fruits. They want the customer to walk in every single day, because if you stock FMCG goods like shampoos and toothbrushes, nobody is going to go every day to buy them. You can even go once a week or once a month and buy all of them and come back. But only vegetables, typically the housewife wants to go every day to pick. So unless you stock something fresh, most of these stores will just be empty most of the day. So that was the only reason a lot of them started off. But if you really see, their business has not picked up because the margins on fresh products are very tough, and you need a lot of focus to maintain the freshness and also to remove a lot of the rotting items. If you don't remove the rotting items, it has nothing to do with cold storage, it's nothing to do with the technology. It's a very, very simple practice that every few minutes or hours you have to start removing the rotten items, which a normal vegetable vendor keeps on doing it by practice, because you know that a rotten apple can spoil the entire thing. So even one rotten tomato can spoil the entire shop, which is exactly why if you walk into some of these modern retail shops, you find most of their vegetables are shrunk or doesn't look fresh, whereas a vegetable vendor on the street corner, he does not have any of these techniques, but usually he just sprinkles a little bit of water, puts things in shade, because he knows the qualities of every single vegetable by heart. And most of the Indian vegetable actually does not need a cold storage. If you see, onions or potatoes or even tomatoes can be kept very easily for 1 or 2 weeks without any refrigeration requirement. And even if you put it inside the fridge, most of the time they will shrink. They will actually lose their freshness. Which is something which even the great scientists have not figured out, because most of the scientists are male. They do not cook in their house. Had they asked their wife, they would have told them very simple tips that you don't need to spend crores of money in trying to save the vegetables and fruits, because only things which have a very, very hard core, like for example apples or pineapple and all, can put inside a cold storage for long. Anything which has a watery base, which most Indian vegetables are, the minute you put inside a fridge, it will start shrinking. And the minute you take it out of the fridge, the thawing and the freezing actually destroys the vegetables. Okay. So in summary, like any marketing person would say, the 4 P's of marketing, which is product, price, place, and promotion, is what determines the product. But even the great Philip Kotler would poop in his pants, because the minute you add perishability, because here is a product which has a value morning 6 o'clock, by evening it loses half its value, by next day literally boils down to zero. No accountant can really wipe out this kind of a loss. So the person who is selling has to be extremely sharp and extremely correct in terms of how he is handling the product, and make sure that you can't just put one fixed price to sell it. So you'll see the vegetable vendor in the morning, he might have a different price, evening he discounts it, and by late night he's kind of packaging it along with other things. And he also tends to different kinds of customers. There are customers who come on a BMW, there is somebody coming on a scooter, and somebody coming in a cycle. So he'll have different grades and different prices for different customers. So that way, pretty much by the end of the day, his entire store is empty. Whereas you walk into any of these modern retailers at 10 o'clock in the night, you will see literally the whole store is still filled up and stocked up, because most customers don't want to pick the rotten items or slightly broken items, and they throw it out on the street, which is why the prices are sometimes very high and they're not able to manage. A lot of these stores open with a huge gala thing on one day, and within 6 months to a year they usually crash and burn and close down. So once again, if you meet your Sabjiwala, please have respect for what they're doing. It's a very, very tough job, and let me tell you, selling vegetables on the street corner is not an easy thing. You might be a brilliant MBA with fantastic credentials, but if I give you just a small cart of vegetables and ask you to sell, literally, you'll crap in your pants and run scared, because this is not a very standard way of doing things. And hats off to the Indian Subjiwallahs who are playing unknown heroes role. And also, what is more credible is there are no agencies which recognize them. Everybody is abusing them. Everybody is calling them as middlemen. There are no formal ways of credit. No banks give loans to these people. There are no educational institutions, agricultural universities to train the Subjiwallahs how to run their business better. A lot of it is they have trained and learned out of their own mistakes, and they take loan from the money lenders at very high interest rates. Even microfinance usually ignores all the urban people, and they always keep focusing on the rural poverty, whereas the urban poverty is much higher. And you will see right around you, most of the vegetable wallahs who have been treating you right from kid for last 30-40 years, they are still living in the same slums, and they're still going around in the same dresses they were. They're not driving in BMWs. Whereas surprisingly, I'm seeing a lot of farmers who have sold off their land. They're having gold necklaces and things, and people have a perception that the farmer is poor and somehow the Subjiwallah is very rich and he's the one making all the money. Whereas literally most of the time they're only making just that day's enough to feed their family and have a little bit of extra cash to float around their own businesses. So please do have some respect for the Subjiwallah and start treating them with a little bit more humanity, and let's see how we can integrate them into this new network which we are trying to build. And a lot of my personal lessons and a lot of my personal friends and gurus come from this industry. I've actually learned a lot from them. I would like to thank them through this little video.